Good morning, 8th grade. Happy Monday. I am not there today, but I do have this video for you that you're all going to watch together. So let's get started. All right, so just like every day, you should have your notebooks out, writing down our learning target on page 24. The learning target says, I can accurately identify variables, questions, and hypotheses. Your TAD for the day, right, experimental design. You're going to do a puzzle in class, like a little scavenger hunt puzzle, and we'll get that done in class. So pause the video and make sure that everybody has this written down. All right, so your warm-up today, you'll do this in your head. You don't need to write it down anywhere. But here it is. It says you want to know which breakfast food gives you the most energy for the day. You eat eggs for a week, then oatmeal for a week, and then yogurt and fruit for a week. You compare how much energy you have at the end of the trial. So right now in your head, what would you identify as the IV? Which one is the DV? So pause the video, think about it, and then discuss as a class. All right, here's our agenda. Again, we're going to take a few quick notes. We'll do a little practice. You guys will do your scavenger hunt puzzle, and then you'll have a check-in at the end of class, and you'll be out of here. So this is what we're doing today. All right, so here's your notes for today. You'll notice that you should all have note sheets that look like this. Everybody should have this. So this is where you will take notes. Notice how that I have it organized just like my notes. So make sure that you are writing in when I ask you to. So first one, testable question. When you have an experiment, when you have something that you want to solve, we're going to write down a testable question to begin. Testable question leads us. It's where we're headed. So testable questions, there's three things. Number one, it must be testable. If it's not testable, then you can't really do an experiment. So it's got to be testable. It can't be yes or no question. And it must include both the IV and the DV and how they are related. So three options I've given you for how to organize your testable question. First one, how does the IV affect the DV? That's what we always do. That's what we did last year. You can also use this one, what will happen to the DV if I change the IV? Or you can choose what is the relationship between the IV and the DV. So use any of these options when you are writing your testable question. So pause now and make sure that everyone has their notes taken. All right, so are these questions testable? Are these written in a good way? So here they are. Number one, is country music better than rock and roll music? Is this a good testable question? No, it's not. It's not because it's all opinion. And it's a yes or no question depending upon the person. So this is not testable. This is not a good question. Are leprechauns real? Not a good question. Again, yes or no. You can't really do an experiment on this. These are not good questions. Number three, what's the relationship between wing shape and how far a paper airplane will fly? This is a good testable question because it includes the IV, which is wing shape, changing the wing shape, and it includes the DV, how far the paper airplane will fly. So this is a good testable question. Number four, how does temperature affect mood? Again, this is a good one as well. Temperature is your IV. If you change the temperature, how will it change your mood? Your mood being the DV. All right, so here's my dilemma. I want to know how rubber band size, thick and thin rubber bands, play a role in the distance it can travel. So we've already kind of looked at this, talking about IV and DV. So how would you write a testable question for this? If you're looking at thick and thin rubber bands, two rubber bands, and writing a testable question for this. So how would we write this? Here's a good way to write it. So a good testable question would be, how does rubber band size affect the distance shot? Notice that we have the IV, which is rubber band size. We're changing thick and thin. And it has the DV, which is distance shot. So please pause and write this in now, again, you should be writing this right here where it says the rubber band question. So pause now and get it copied in there. All right, on to hypothesis. So we have our testable question. Now we have to make a prediction. Remember that your hypothesis must be in the format of if, then, because. So if we do something to the IV, if we change it, then what do you predict will happen to the DV? What's your prediction for the outcome? And then your because is your best scientific reasoning. If you don't include scientific reasoning or scientific terms here, you will lose credit. And this hypothesis must answer the testable question. So if we flip to the back side of our notes now, and we think about a rubber band hypothesis, and I have it broken down in here, you notice that you have sentence frames. So if, use one of these sentences, if we compare or if we test, okay? So let's start with the if. So if, you're going to tell me what you're comparing in the experiment. Think back to what we're comparing. We're comparing rubber bands. Specifically, we're comparing thick and thin. So if we test blank and blank, if we test both a thick rubber band and a thin rubber band by shooting them, okay, so notice that I use this frame right now. So pause and write this in just like as you see it. All right, on to the then. So if we do this to the IV, then tell me which one you think will be better. So again, you have two options. I think blank will blank or blank will occur. So then I think which rubber band do you think will travel farther? So I think that a thick one will travel farther. So I said then I think the thick one will travel farther. So pause now and get your notes in there. And then finally we have our because. The because, everybody, is the scientific reasoning. It's the most important part. So you don't want to say because I like the big rubber band better. That's not a good reason. So using some scientific language, things that you could say would be something like elastic energy. So because it contains more elastic energy, energy allows things to happen. So if we test both a thick rubber band and a thin rubber band by shooting them, then I predict the thick one will travel farther because it contains more elastic energy. Pause now and make sure your notes are taken. All right, at the bottom of your note sheet, you have practice. You have one example that deals with sleep and grades. So what I want you to do is work with your elbow partner. Do not move. Some of you are itching to move by your friends. Do not. Work with your elbow partner. I'll give you 5 minutes to go through the IV, the DV, testable question, and the hypothesis. So pause now. You have 5 minutes. When you're done, we're going to tape this into page 24. So tape it into page 24 now. And now we are on to our variable puzzle. So you should have a sheet being handed out now that looks like this. It's experimental design practice. You should see this right now. There's 7 different examples, and then you have some things on the back. So this is what you should be seeing. So for this puzzle, you're going to use your sheet, and you're going to go around the room. There are 7 stations around the room. They are numbered 1 through 7. At each station, you're going to correctly identify the IV, DV controls, testable question, and hypothesis. You'll record the corresponding letter with each category, and you'll decode the word. So this is a kind of a scavenger hunt and a decoding practice sheet. Okay, so let me give you an example of what you guys might see. So on your sheet, if you look at number 1, number 1 talks about sunflower plants, and then they each get a different salt solution. Notice that you have IV, DV, controls, testable question, hypothesis. Now, if you were to go to station number 1, here's what you're going to see. You're going to see the same scenario, but now you have 5 choices in here. Sunflower height, period, salt solutions, and then you have letters. So what you need to do is you need to correctly place these letters into the right category. So for example, what is the IV in this one? What are we changing about it? Well, we're changing the different salt solution. So instead of writing that in here, I would simply write in the letter E, okay, because that's the corresponding E. The DV, everybody, what are we measuring? We're measuring the height. So we would also put it in an E, right, because the DV, sunflower height, is E. Controls, what is being kept the same of these choices? That would be the 2-week period, so we'd write in I. Testable question, this should be so simple. Which one of these is written as a testable question? It is this one. How does salt water affect sunflower height? So we'd write in O. And then lastly, here's your hypothesis. If sunflowers receive salt water than the plants receiving the most, will grow the least because salt kills plants. You'd put in a T. Okay? So here you have your decoding for station 1, E-E-I-O-T. If you go to the back side now, you'll notice that it says decode the letters. So everybody should be on the back side. It says write down all the IV letters from each example, write down all the DV, controls, and so on and so forth. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back up the top. Your first IV was an E, so you would put it in E here. Your DV was also an E. Your control was an I. Your testable question was an O. And your hypothesis was a T. As you go through each station, you're going to get a different set of 5 letters. You will put them in here like I have. So you'll end up with something like this. E, J, K, I, A, S, something like this, some different kind of letters. And it's not going to make any sense. You need to unscramble this to make this word. Notice there are 7 blanks here. There's a word here. For your DV, you have 7 letters. Notice you have 2 words. So you need to decode that and figure out what this sentence is. Okay? So that's how you're going to do this scavenger hunt. So you'll go around the room and you'll get the letters and you'll decode the sentence. Okay? We are going to hand this in when we're done. So make sure that you have it done completely and that your name is on it. When we are all done with the day, right before we leave, you do have a check-in survey on Classroom. Make sure that you get that done before you leave. So that's what you got going on today. Make sure that you are ready to go.